I want to talk about a very interesting development that just recently happened on Truth Social regarding Trumpcoin. Basically, Donald Trump kind of hinted that he supported the idea that Trumpcoin was kind of like a gauge of momentum of what people think of his presidency. Now, I think that's a little bit crazy because Trumpcoin, when he debuted, was $70, and now it's like $10. So that would mean people were really down on his presidency. But he actually did reshare a post on Truth Social that says, like, Trumpcoin is a gauge on what people think of his presidency. Now, why would he do this? Maybe he just wasn't thinking straight. But besides that, he's obviously trying to pump Trumpcoin. He's trying to goad MAGA people into buying his crap coin. The only real purpose it has is maybe getting some dinner invites, and if he really wants to pump the coin, he can just say, like, hey, come to this dinner, top 200 buyers of Trumpcoin. This time I'll actually be there for longer than like 10 seconds. That might actually get people to actually buy Trumpcoin. But he's obviously trying to get more buyers because obviously MAGA wants to make it look like that people really like his presidency, and they want like more momentum on his presidency. So if they believe that the coin is kind of like indicative of what people think about his presidency, they might buy more of the coins, thus pumping once again the price of said coin. So it might be kind of a sleazy tactic for people to buy his coin, but it might actually work because MAGA really, really likes Trump, and they want to make it look like that the public sentiment on his presidency is very, very positive. Right now it does not. He might want them to buy it back up to $30. Also, there is also a $502 million unlock on his coin soon, I believe. That was on the same article. Can't pull it up right now because I'm driving, obviously. But very, very interesting thing that he's actually done right now with basically resharing that tweet on Truth Social, or whatever you call a tweet on Truth Social, that Trumpcoin is essentially a gauge on his presidency. Now, there obviously comes with a risk because, once you tweet something like this on Truth Social, even if you delete it, people remember it. And the coin really hasn't gone up since then. So if the coin fails to actually go up in price, your opponents can easily say, see, no one cares about your presidency. Like, people are super, super down on your presidency. Because when it debuted, which is basically when he got inaugurated in January, it was $70. Now it's $10. So, like, you have like about a 15% approval rating, which is not true, by the way. I think his actual approval rating is around like 43, 44 at this point. But they could say, like, because it was 70, now it's down to $10, you have a 15% approval rating because everyone sold your coin. Or he could just use $10 as a starting gauge because it's really, really low. And he could announce another gala or like another dinner, which would pump the price maybe up to $15. And he could say, see, people are now 50% more up on my presidency than when I announced this. So he could actually use it as a political tool because he has other ways to actually manipulate the price of Trumpcoin. Let's not forget that Eric Trump did actually announce a strategic partnership somehow between Trumpcoin and World Liberty Financial. So there is a bit of shrewdness in doing this too, because this is a coin that he can actually have other ways to manipulate himself by basically, like, selling access to himself through you buying the coin. That's entirely possible. So it could be a very good political tool that he can manipulate at any time and then announce that, somehow people view his presidency in a more popular light. But it could also go the other way as well. Like, if his team is going to treat it as exit liquidity, which they definitely might, and they sell $500 million of this coin, that's obviously going to bring it down. And I don't think him actually saying that this is a gauge of his presidency is going to bring it up enough for it to actually match. Now, it's basically been slowly going down like all the other alts at this point. It is a meme coin, but a meme coin maybe with some utility that you might get to go to like a Washington, D.C. dinner and get some influence on the president. So there actually might be like some big buyers that are willing to dump a lot into Trumpcoin to buy the good graces of the president, or to try to like influence him in a certain way for their own business. So there's definitely that angle, but I'm not really sure if it's going to be enough to pump up the price of the coin, especially with the disappointment of the last gala dinner. And what I mean by the last gala dinner is like, he showed up, gave a BS speech for like, a minute and then left. Justin Sun did get a golden watch for being the top Trump coin holder, but basically like Trump wasn't even on the podium when Justin Sun was presented with the golden watch. So a lot of people were disappointed by the lack of access to the president during the last gala. So like next time if he has another like gala dinner, he better step up his performance, and he should actually like, be at the dinner and get better food, because some people said it was the worst food they like ever had, and we actually had a picture of the food over there and it looked like a cafeteria tray lunch. So you better like, it's more over $1 million a plate, so I'd expect at least like, some filet mignon, some really, really good like, sea bass or something, nice vegetables, everything like laid out. The last dinner was kind of disappointing. And of course, people were super disappointed because there was no access, or very little access, to Donald Trump. So he should at least like take something out of his schedule if he wants to pump his coin, and show up at his event basically at a bigger extent if he wants future gala dinners. And I do believe that he will host future gala dinners, because now there's like, 2 points of importance for him pumping the coin. One, to act as exit liquidity, and he's already made hundreds of millions of dollars on this coin, but there's billions more of unlocks, and if he wants to keep the coin up so he can continue to mine those unlocks off of people, he definitely needs to, make sure that like they think it's actually worth it. And two, since he's actually shared this tweet, people are going to say, well, it's a kind of a political gauge of our presidency, so like, it wouldn't benefit him politically, especially like going into the midterms, if that gauge actually went down. So he has a double reason to actually pump this coin now, instead of a single reason he had just, yesterday. Now, I don't really know what they're going to do with this World Liberty Financial / Trumpcoin partnership. Maybe they'll look up some other utility for it. I don't know. I mean, most of Eric Trump's endeavors recently haven't really been doing so well. He's been trying to get people to buy various coins, and those coins have, like Ethereum, which haven't really done so well since he's basically tweeted out it's a great time to buy Ethereum. Obviously, like, their family is really into Bitcoin and crypto. The Trump Media Organization is looking to buy $12 billion more of Bitcoin than the already $2.44 billion they've already raised. So they're going to be very, very tied to crypto. It looks like it's going to be Bitcoin, Ethereum, and they're going to be pretty tied to Trumpcoin as well. So this is a very, very interesting thing. Like, Trumpcoin's actually at a very low price right now, well, compared to its debut of $10. So if you believe that he's going to pump it up just to make himself look politically better, since he's made the statement on Truth Social, you might actually think about buying a little bit from it, because, there are kind of like some signs and tea leaves you can actually read from Trumpcoin now. And I don't think he's just going to completely let it die, at least not while he's president. So there is actually some backing and some reason that it actually won't go to zero. So I would say it's like definitely better than some like random meme coin. And I think its shelf life is at least 3.5, 4 more years while he's actually president. Now, if he's no longer president, and especially if a Democratic administration replaces him next time, then I would definitely say you should sell before then, because I think like Trumpcoin's more or less going to be considered a scam in the next administration when he's not president anymore, and then people won't be trying to buy influence. They're not going to get invited to like gala dinners, especially if the party's kind of like change power. So realistically, like, you've got about three years to actually milk this, 3.5 years to actually milk this before it all like goes up in smoke at this point. But it actually might be a worthwhile buy for the next 3.5 years, especially if like you think $10 is the bottom, and he's going to repump it through his efforts as a gauge of his approval rating and as a way to actually grift more money for exit liquidity. Because remember, Trumpcoin has a series of unlocks, and he's got to keep the price like somewhat high through those series of unlocks so he can cash in on the billions of dollars available at the coin. That means he's got to find more suckers to actually buy the coin. And I think the first group of suckers may not want to buy so much because the first gala dinner was so disappointing, and they wanted to buy influence with Trumpcoin and they weren't. But some other people might be willing to give it a shot, and they might be willing to dump like a couple $1 million on Trumpcoin to see if they can get on the inroads with the president. I don't think Justin Sun is going to sell his stake, because I think it's actually worth it to him to actually keep the Trump coin for potential influence with the president. And I mean, it's not bad, because WLFI also has investments in Tron now, and he has investments in WLFI, so he's more financially tied to the Trump family than most would actually think in the crypto market. So that's what I have to say for today. Whether you buy is your choice or not. I'm not going to buy, obviously. But if you actually believe that this is a good opportunity because he's the president right now and he'll repump his coin a couple times, might be a good buy to grab some money. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. Hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.